Vidhammer Fantasy.
Welcome back to Vidhammer. I'm Spudlow, and this is the first tournament video using the 2,150 point Skaven list. If you missed the first video, you can check it out here, and there's a lot more over on our main channel. So here is tournament round number 1. This is a battle line scenario, which includes a square area in the center of the board marked by 4 coins. At the end of the game, any unit that has the majority of it inside the box gives you half its value in extra victory points. Our board layout has 3 pieces of impassable terrain that clog up the center and cause me some significant problems. My opponent is a Bretonnian player that I've played before. I know he's got some beefy characters that he'll put in the front rank of one of his cavalry units that makes it nigh unstoppable, but he's also has some empty stands that are proxies for Pegasus Knights that I haven't seen him use before, so I'm wondering how that's actually going to play out. He wins board edge roll and starts with 12 Knights of the Realm that are the ones on the far right. I put down my clan rat group and angle them towards the right since there's not that much room to get through on the left. He puts down one of his men-at-arms units. I do my Storm Vermin, thinking that's a matchup I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. He puts down his other unit of knights. These are 12 Knights Errant. With both of his big cavalry blocks on the right, I've got to put my slaves over there to hold at least one of them up. If they both get a charge off on the same turn, life is going to suck. So my slaves go over there. He puts down his other men-at-arms unit, and I put my rat ogres off-screen to the left, hoping that I can get in and get a flank run on his infantry. He puts his Pegasus Knights down behind the terrain, since he doesn't have to worry about it. And the only thing left for me is my Plague Monks, which I don't want to have go up against the cavalry after the preview game, where they were pretty much handed their own ass. So I put them down on the left, but make them 5 wide, hoping they'll be able to work through this terrain a little bit better. Character-wise, he's got a Damsel, 2 Paladins, 1 is the BSB, and his General that all go with the Knights Errant. And for spells, the Damsel ends up with Flesh to Stone and Earthblood. I've got my General with the Clan Rats, but my Grey Seer, Warlock Engineer, and BSB are all in with the Storm Vermin. The Engineer has Warp Lightning, I don't remember what the Plague Priest had, and the Grey Seer got Wither, Scorch, Plague, and the Dreaded 13th. I ended up rolling 3 of my dice for the spells for Plague and 1 for Ruin, because I really wanted to get Plague, since that's the best way to counteract those Knights, and they hit those large horde blocks pretty well. He forgoes a shot at the first turn, so he can start out with his Blessing, giving all of his Knights a 6+ ward save, and it increases to a 5+ if the strength of the attack is 5 or higher. But his Pegasus Knights also get a Vanguard move. I end up with 2 Warpstone tokens, and the Skaven Brew gives my Storm Vermin the Frenzy effect, not the Uber Frenzy, but just regular Frenzy, which I'm happy for. I start out turn 1, reform my Storm Vermin to try to help them move through this gap. This ends up being a mistake, since there doesn't end up being enough room for both units to stay 1 inch apart and move through there. If I'd stayed Horde, I could have just marched through, gotten into combat with the peasants faster. My Clan Rats also head left, and I move up my slaves for the sacrifice. I want my Warlord out of the way of the Knights, but I can't get too far from the slaves, or they'll fold like a taco. Magic gives me 8 dice against 5. I shoot Warp Lightning at the peasants for 5 wounds. Then I try Scorch, and he dispels it. I have my Grey Seer eat 2 Warpstone tokens, and add to his 4 dice he has left for the Dreaded 13th, which goes off on the peasants for 15 wounds. And the Panic Check makes them run, but they don't actually make it off the board. I shoot my Doom Rocket at the other peasant unit, and actually take out 26, but they hold. So things are going well. I've got that left side battered down. I just need to get into combat with him. For his turn, he charged the flank of my Clan Rats with his Pegasus Knights. The Knights Errant try to charge the slaves, but they actually fail and move forward. And the peasants that were running rally and turn back. Magic gives him 11 dice against 7. He uses 5 dice for Flesh to Stone on the Pegasus Knights. Knowing that he's only got one more spell, which is actually an augment, that only goes on the unit that the damsel is in, I go ahead and use all 7 of my dice to dispel this one. Then he uses his 6 remaining to put Earthblood on the Knights Errant. In combat, my Warlord does 1 wound, and he does 8 with his Knights and 3 with stops. But the clan rats are steadfast, and they pass their break test, and they actually get the reform roll. It's a big help for me. I start off turn 2, reform my slaves so his Knights of the Realm can't have a flank charge. Then the Rat Ogres and the Storm Vermin move up, but the Plague Monks can't squeeze through and stay 1 inch away from the Storm Vermin, so that's a rather irritating situation. Magic is 9 versus 6. My Grey Seer is in range of the Knights Errant for Plague. I want to save that one for last, so I start with Wither on the Peasants. Then, when I try to cast Scorch on that unit, he uses dice to dispel it. Then I've got a dice advantage for Plague on the Knights, which is my best shot to actually damage them. It kills off 7 and puts a wound on the Damsel, but the spell doesn't bounce. Second round of combat, the Warlord and Clan Rats draw Scratch, but the Warleader gets 2. The Pegasus Knights get 5 in all, and they end up losing the combat by 1 after my ranks and a banner. They flee, and I choose to pursue. I know I'm going to stop short of the slaves, so I figure it's worth a shot, but I don't catch them. On to his turn, the Pegasus Knights rally, and the Knights Errant charge the Clan Rats. I didn't think he'd be able to make that charge distance, but in retrospect, an 8-inch move with Swift Stride, 16 or 17-inch range is about average, actually. I need to learn not to underestimate those guys. The Knights of the Realm can't do anything with the Pegasus Knights in the way, yay, but the closer peasants try a charge on the Storm Vermin, but fail in move 3. For Magic, he gets 5 dice to 4. He uses them all for Flesh to Stone on the Knights Errant, which I fail to dispel. Probably should have used a Dispel Scroll, but oh well. In combat, my Warlord actually gets 3 wounds, and he saves them all. They win by a lot. I run and get cut down. The slaves take an Induced Panic check and fail, so they're out as well. There went my entire right side. Turn 3, we know this is going to be the last turn. Things are going slow because I'm trying to write down everything that's going on and take pictures. So I go ahead and charge one of his peasant units with my Storm Vermin, and my other units can't make it into the box in their last-ditch effort. For Magic, I cast Dreaded 13th on the other peasant unit, and they panic and run off the board. I win the close combat against the peasants, and I choose to pursue to make sure that I get the points, but if I'd stayed there, I would have been inside the box with my Storm Vermin and 3 of my characters. And with his unit below 25%, the peasants were probably going to run off the board anyways. I still would have lost if I'd done that, but it would have been like 9 to 11. As it was, we played out the bottom of 3, and he got all of his knights into the box and ended up winning 13 to 7. Not my greatest game. Had me feeling like an idiot a couple of times, but still had fun, had a good opponent. Trying to keep track of things during the game, however, was distracting, and it really slowed the game down. So in the second round, I didn't actually write things down as they were happening or take pictures. Instead, afterwards, I wrote down as much as I could remember, and I was able to piece together a reenactment of the second round here. You can find more videos on our main channel. Do us a favor and subscribe, like this video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to send us a message if you have any tactics or matchups you'd like us to try in our weekly games. Till next time from the Vidhammer crew, keep fighting. Vidhammer. Arf, arf.